Boys, today I bring to you one of the greatest combo decks I have ever played and one of the worst decks for your wallet in general. This is Danger, Zombie, Thunder, Grass. This is absolutely one of the best decks on Master Duel, and I wanted to share what I have accomplished or built with you guys. And I'm going to get into some of the historical context, a little bit of a card by card for each of the cards of the deck, a little deck profile for you guys, some tech cards as you expand your budget, and some additional cards you can play if you are interested in other variants of this deck, and of course some gameplay. So let's just jump straight into it. That Grass Looks Greener is a very interesting card. Released in Raging Tempest and in no other set, this card allows you to mill until you have the same amount of cards in deck as your opponent. Although cards revolving around mill have existed for an extremely long while now, think Morphing Jars, Lightsworn, and Needlebug Nest, almost no card on this extremely long list of cards could even hold a candle to the raw explosive power of milling anywhere from 15 to 30 cards. When this card was around, any deck with graveyard synergies, such as the Infernoids or playing enough good stuff cards, such as Fairy Tale Snow, was able to use and abuse this card going both first or second until its untimely fate at the hands of the ban list. Until now, thanks to our Master Duel Fantasyland ban list, we are able to return to form with one of the most powerful combo decks of all time, Danger, Zombie, Thunder, Grass. This deck can be broken down into 4 parts: the Dangers, the Zombies, the Thunder Dragons, and a bunch of broken spells. So we're going to tackle these camps one by one. The Dangers are monsters that allow you to easily dig through your deck for power cards, such as Grass, and additionally pitch cards from your hand that are fine being in the graveyard, such as Yugioh. The Zombies also fulfill this condition in being able to discard cards such as Fairy Tale Snow from your hand with the first effect of Unizombie, but they also have great synergies in filling up the graveyard with Snow Fodder or Reborns in the form of Shiranui's Spirit Master, who's able to pop cards upon it being banished, such as Off Snow, or Mizuki, a Reborn for any zombie, which is great for extension. The Thunder Dragons are a suite of monsters who have an okay effect in hand, such as adding copies of themselves, but an insanely broken one when sent from the field to the graveyard or are banished, say off of Fairy Tale Snow. These effects can range from a mulligan to a free special from deck, which is absolutely nuts. Finally, we have the Grass Good Stuff, broken up into 3 subcamps. The first camp are generically powerful cards that have synergies or we want in the graveyard, such as Snow, Yugioh, and Giant Rex. The second are consistency boosters that help us get to Grass, such as Allure and Desires. Finally, we have pseudo-grasses such as Reasoning that do a good enough job at getting shit into the graveyard. Playing all of these in tandem, we are able to create one of the most explosive combo decks in all of Yu-Gi-Oh history in the year of our Lord and Savior 2022. So with that, let's get into the card by card. For hand traps, we're running 3 Max E because it's broken, and we're running 2 Psyframe Gear Gamma and the 1 Psyframe Driver. Psyframe Driver isn't really that big of an issue in this deck because we can special summon it from the graveyard if we do mill it off Grass, and it does also act as a Chaos Banish, and because we're playing CC cards, we're much less likely to open this random one of, which is super nice. We are also playing for the Danger package, the 2 Danger Jackalope, 3 Danger Tsuchinoko, 2 Danger Mothman, and 3 Danger Nessie. All these Dangers are extremely powerful. Danger Mothman is sort of the worst one, but it does have great level synergy in being able to go into rank 4s and synchro 8s, as well as the fact that the second effect is able to pitch stuff like Snow and Yugioh from your hand pretty easily. For the Zombies, we are playing the 3 Shiranui Solitaire, which is used to grab the 2 Unizombie, the 2 Mizuki, and the 1 Shiranui Spirit Master. Unizombie is of course just a way to get stuff into the graveyard, or Foolish Burial from deck, stuff like Mizuki. Mizuki, if you mill it off Grass alongside a Unizombie, you basically get a free extender, which is extremely nice. And Shiranui Spirit Master is sort of just there as a sort of cute option that if we mill it off Grass or we send it off Unizombie, we are able to banish it off of Snow and not only get the Snow effect, but the pop effect off of Spirit Master because it was banished. Super nice. For the Thunder Dragons, we're playing 3 Thunder Dragon, the original, 2 Thunder Dragon Dark, 2 Thunder Dragon Roar, and 1 Thunder Dragon Hawk. This is sort of just for cycling. This is our Stratos, this is our special from deck, and this is our Wheel of Fortune. You're going to be using Thunder Dragon Hawk mainly in order to get a Thunder Dragon onto the board if you're not using it for Saryuja, if you're not doing already so through Saryuja, I mean. And usually you're going to be tributing that card up to go into your Colossus. And the rest of these are just the bare minimum you can play for this sort of engine. Now, onto the dumb extenders and just random stuff. We are playing one Giant Rex. If we banish it off of Snow, we get an additional level 4 monster. This is really good for going to stuff like Tugaris or just additional Link laddering material. Additionally, we have 3 Fairy Tail Snow. This is without a doubt one of the biggest reasons to play this deck. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to face-down defense position. Pretty good Book of Moon on a monster. However, second effect is where things really kick into gear. If this card is in your graveyard, as a quick effect, you can banish 7 other cards from your hand, field, and or graveyard, special summon this card. You could do this on your opponent's turn. You could do this on your own turn to trigger Thunder Dragons. You could banish a bunch of spells just for rank 4 extension and link laddering. This card is everything you will ever need and is without a doubt one of the greatest cards I have ever had the privilege of looking at. Next, we are playing 3 Destrudo, the Lost Dragons, Frisian. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can pay half your life points, target a level 6 or lower monster control, and special summon it. You can do this for link laddering, but usually you're going to be using it to either set up a level 4 by targeting like a level 3 monster control, or you're going to go into Yazi, Evil of the Yangzing, which we will get into. Speaking of Yazi, Evil of the Yangzing, we're playing one Mare Mare, who is our target off of Yazi, where Yazi pops itself and you can special summon a worm. That worm is going to be Mare. And during your main phase, you can reduce this card's level by 1, and if you do, special summon one mini Mare Mare token to your board, and you could use it thrice per turn. So this is extremely powerful for turn 3 or turn 2 OTK setups. Extremely powerful. And finally, we are playing the 3 Parallel Exceed in terms of monsters. Parallel Exceed is sort of gimmicky in a deck that is playing grass, and Parallel Exceed can't summon from the grass zone, or the graveyard, but it is an extremely powerful card, and I don't have $1 million to spend on Upstart Goblins and Chicken Games, so we're playing this. Really good extender, and really nice at just being able to put a body on the board. Bucket. For consistency, we are playing 1 Upstart Goblin. You should be playing 3 alongside Chicken Game, but again, we don't have $1 million. We're playing 3 Allure of Darkness, and we are playing 3 Pot of Desires. Desires is kind of sussy, but this deck does need a couple of specific cards in hand and grave in order to be able to combo off, and we're playing everything at 3, so we might as well just play the Desires. Allure of Darkness has some synergy in this deck with the Dangers, but it has a ton of synergy with the Thunder Dragons, where if we Allure pitch, say something like a Dragon Roar, we get not only the 2 cards for free, but we also get the free special off of Dragon Roar, which is extremely useful. For the spell extenders, we are playing the 1 Monster Reborn, because it's sort of just Kasaki 1 of, why not? 1 Foolish Burial, when all else fails to get Snow or Destrudo into the graveyard. 3 Reasoning, this is sort of your bad grass. It gets a lot of stuff into the graveyard and is extremely adept at setting up cards in grave for Snow, but it's also just good if you manage to hit something like a Destrudo, a Thunder Dragon for like extension plays. Really nice card overall. 2 Called by the Grave in order to stop hand traps, and of course the 3 Grass Looks Greener. Absolutely broken. You want to open this card every single game, but we're playing 60 cards, so that's unfortunately not going to always happen. For our extra deck, we are playing 1 Thunder Dragon Colossus, an extremely oppressive Floodgate, which is a mistake on legs only for your opponent. Extremely nice. Our Yazi, Evil of the Yangzing, able to be summoned extremely easily off of Destrudo and any level 6 or lower monster to go into Mare for OTK plays or link laddering. 1 Burled Savage Dragon, which is able to be summoned by any, level 4 zombie synchro bullshit. We've got our Chaotic Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, who is able to mill 5 cards and add 1 of those cards to hand if it's a light or dark, and is able to resummon itself by banishing a light or dark. Extremely good for trying to dig for stuff such as Snow, Dangers, etc. Also Destrudo. We've also got number 60, Dugaris the Timeless. This is a pretty cheeky inclusion, but I really like it. Being able to cycle in specific hands where you do need to see maybe a card engraved like a Snow, or you need to reborn something for that last Link 4 push. Dugaris does serve a ton of utility purpose, but I get if you don't want to play this card. We've got 1 Linkuriboh for level 1 bullshit in case all else goes wrong. We've got 1 Crystron Hauki Fibrax For extension plays, we've got 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 IP Masquerade to go into a Unicorn with, 1 Union Carrier. You're usually going to be equipping something like a Snow to maybe like a light monster you've got on the board. It's sort of like a when all else fails scenario. 1 Curious, the Lightsworn Dominion, who's usually going to be sending something like Destrudo, Snow, etc. You've got 1 Nightmare Unicorn to go off into the IP. 1 Staryuja Skull Dread to basically sculpt your hand to whatever you want. This is extremely powerful in this specific type of deck. 1 Apollousa Bow of the Goddess. You're usually going to be making this with 4 materials, which is absolutely nuts when you think about it. And Access Code Talker for OTK plays. So, let's get into some tech spots. So we have a couple of routes that this deck can take. Stuff like the Chaos Dragon package, which Blade yugioh sent over to me. We have stuff like the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, the White Dragon Wyvern Buster, and Chaos Spaces to search stuff like Levianeer. You have Striker Dragon to go into stuff like Spheres or Romulus. Just note that it does require a lot of main and extra deck space, so take your wins with your losses. Additionally, you can play Lightsworn cards such as Charge of the Light Brigade and Radiant Hand with Lightsworn if you really want to focus in on that mill aspect if you're not able to always see grass or not see it as much as you'd like. I think that this is a little too high investment and a little too cute, but it's still an extremely powerful engine overall. It's not like it's bad, I just personally don't like it. For extreme consistency, you can play triple Upstart Goblin and triple Chicken Game. You can build these cards, you can buy them. They're just really expensive and don't go in a whole lot else, so just, keep that in mind. For synchros, you can obviously play other 8s such as Sideframe Lord Omega. And for links, if you're really scared of back row, you can go into Topologic Trisbania, which if you're able to end on it in, say, a best 2 out of 3 against something like Eldritch in like a best of 3 tournament somehow, you're able to go into Trisbania at the end of your opponent's main phase or end phase. When they set 5, you can just bring back a Snow to a Trisbania zone and just banish your opponent's whole board and win from there. So that's pretty funny. So let's get into the gameplay. Our opponent is playing Ancient Gear, and we've opened a really powerful hand. Again, this game has a lot of moving parts, so I'm going to walk you through all of these. We're going to go for the Allure of Darkness. We're going to pitch the Thunder Dragon Dark, and look, we drew our I win button. We're going to add Thunder Dragon with our Thunder Dragon Dark when it's banished, just to sort of cycle the bad cards out of our hand and to get additional fodder for our dangers. We're next going to hit the I win button. That grass looks greener, and we're going to mill a ton of cards. Most notably, we milled 2 of our Fairy Tale Snows, our Destrudo, and a Mizuki. Unfortunately, we did hit the Mare, which means we can't go for Yazi plays, but I'd say that our wins definitely beat our losses. We are going to go for the Danger Nessie, pitching the Exceed, kind of sucks. We're going to go for the normal summon Unizombie. We're going to pitch the Jackalope, unfortunately, after activating its effect, and go into Suchi Noko. Here's a scenario where if you didn't have anything you milled off of your grass looks greener, or you really need that snow setup, you can go into your Curious off of this line, which is an additional benefit of playing the Dangers, but we already have it engraved. We're going to send a Shiranui Solitaire in order to revive it off of the Mizuki after increasing our Tsuchinoko's level by 1, which is going to be really neat for rank 4 and Synchro 4 setups that we definitely didn't mess up. We're going to use the Destrudo Engrave in order to target our Unizombie, turning it into a level 4, and we're going to turn 4 of our monsters into the one, the only Staryuja Skull Dread, who's going to be able to help us sculpt our hand. We're going to use Staryuja, we're going to draw 4 cards, and we're going to put back 3 of those cards. I make a little misplay. I forget if I activated Thunder Dragon Dark, and we keep the Dragon Dark in hand, as well as keeping an Allure of Darkness. We're going to go for an Upstart Goblin. We're going to go into Tsuchinoko. We're going to special summon the Thunder Dragon Dark, just to sort of have material to go into our Thunder Dragon Colossus. We're going to summon it to the Staryuja zone. Staryuja is going to buff it up a little bit, which is pretty nice. We're going to Tsuchinoko, hit the Allure of Darkness, which is the best hit, and we find a monster reborn off the top. We're able to bring back any level 4 would work. That's not a tuner, but Shiranui Solitaire does get the job done. We're going to buff it up and then go into Chaotic Dragon, the chaotic ruler of Mill 5, win the game. We're going to go into him. It's going to get buffed up because our use is mandatory, and Chaotic Magical Dragon is going to be able to mill 5, and we find a Desires, a Thunder Dragon Roar, a Destrudo, a Nessie, and another Destrudo. This is pretty good because mainly we just want to put more Thunder Dragon names engraved so that we can proc them off of our Snow. So being able to hit the Destrudos is really nice, or other snows or other graveyard fodder is extremely nice, of course, but hitting that danger is going to definitely get us some additional extension, blah 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 blah. You get the idea. We're going to use snow to banish a bunch of spells. It's important with snow to be banishing certain cards in priorities of order. Usually you want to banish your Thunder Dragon stuff that you haven't procced, and then spells that are basically useless in grave once you've used or milled them, and then monsters that will sit in your grave and do nothing, stuff like the dangers, and then sort of zombies, and then sort of like critical engine pieces, stuff like from hand. That is sort of the priority of order that you want to be banishing off of your snow. We're going to proc the Thunder Dragon Dark to get a Thunder Dragon from deck. That's going to get buffed up by Saryuja, which is completely useless because we are going to link 4 into our Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess for 3200 attack, which is 4 monster negates. Absolutely insane. We're going to use snow again in order to banish a bunch of dangers. We have to banish one of our Destrudos, but it doesn't really matter because we have 3 in grave. We're going to use snow and our whatever it's called, our Tsuchinoko, to go into IP Masquerena, and this is our board. This might not look like a lot. We only ended on 3 monsters. We ended on Appaloosa, an IP, a Thunder Dragon Colossus. But when you think about our follow-up, multiple snows in grave, Destrudo, Chaotic the Magical Dragon Ruler, we have Maxi, we have Nessie for a discard outlet that replaces itself. This is an extremely deceptive board that does lose to Sphere Mode. But fortunately, no one plays that. So, turn is going to change to our opponent. They're going to draw for turn, and they're going to try and play through it. They're going to activate Gear Town. We're going to immediately shotgun the Maxi because I don't want to have to deal with any shenanigans. That's going to resolve, and now we get to refill our hand as well as put the pressure on our opponent. They're going to go for the Ancient Gear Ballista. We're going to draw a Parallel Xe. The Gear Town is going to trigger after being popped to go into Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. Shout outs to Twitch. They're going to set 1. They're going to go for the Ancient Gear Fusion, which they hard drew. They're going to fuse 4 to go into Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. Now this would be an issue, but fortunately we do have Fairy Tail Snow in grave. We're going to banish 7 off of our Fairy Tail Snow, and that's just going to revive itself. Did you know that Chaos Ancient Gear Giant doesn't have, targeting protection? We're going to banish a Thunder Dragon Dark as well in order to get some additional searching power in the Thunder Dragon Hawk, who is going to act as a reborn for follow-up plays. During the end phase, the end of main phase 1, we're going to use Snow and the IP, because it does replace itself as material, to go into Nightmare Unicorn and to spin the back row. I don't want to have to deal with anything that might be fucking over my mojo, so why did I say that? We're going to go Nessie, discard the Nessie, add a Tsuchinoko. And yeah, at this point, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to lethal. And because I'm the worst player in all of human history, I am going to BM. We're going to Thunder Dragon Hawk, reborn our Thunder Dragon Roar. We're going to link those 2 to go into our Axis Code Talker. Axis Code Talker is going to be able to buff itself up by 3000 after we use our Roar effect, being sure to use Axis Code Chainlink 2 so our opponent can't use any responses, and then immediately fucking that over with Parallel Xe Chainlink 3. So, we've got the Parallel Xe that's going to be summoned as a level 4, so remember that. Then we're going to be using our Thunder Dragon Roar to special summon another Thunder Dragon Roar from deck. We're going to Axis Code Talker banish the Saryuja to pop the Ancient Gear Giant. We're going to normal Snow, and we're going to overlay both of them for Dugaris the Timeless. We're going to use Dugaris' 3rd effect to buff Axis Code attack by double, and we're going to swing in for 10,600 damage, which is, just a little bit over lethal. Let's get into the pros and cons. 1, this deck has stratospheric levels of ceiling. You could basically end on any single board your heart desires as long as you open and mill well enough. And for creative deck builders, this is certainly the shell of a deck that you should be looking at. Number 2, Fairy Tail Snow is broken. Book of Moon, pretty good. Free special summons that aren't once per turn, really good. All of those being a quick effect. Broken. The fact that it also triggers the Thunder Dragons upon banish is just the absolute cherry on top. Like, this card is absolutely nuts. There's a reason it was on the ban list for as long as it was. And 3, this deck has insane rebuildability. You saw in our last game, we had Destrudos engraved. We had Yazi setups that we didn't really get to see because we milled our Mare, but you get the idea. We have Chaotic Ruler. We had multiple Snows. We could very, very easily, even if we only had like 1 or 2 cards in hand, we are able to easily crack any opponent's board by just getting enough dudes on the board to just Book of Moon and Link climb our way into Axis Code victories. And the cons. 1, this deck isn't that consistent. You're playing 60 cards, and your deck kind of revolves around that grass looks greener. Like, obviously you're going to be seeing a little bit of consistency issues. There are ways to make it more consistent, again, by playing chicken game, upstart, etc. But there are just going to be some hands where you open a ton of garnets, or you're going to be opening a hand of thunder dragons, or you're just not going to be able to open as explosively as you'd like. And that's just kind of the reality of playing a extremely high roll deck such as this one. 2, this deck is really, really hard. You're not always going to be able to see every single combo line unless you just sit down and solitaire practice for a very, very long time. This is a deck that extremely benefits from solitaire practice, but again, it's going to take a while for you to be able to basically map out the entire Thundergrass spreadsheet. And 3, this deck is fucking expensive. This deck is like $1 million. There are 28 URs in this deck. Like, unless you are playing exclusively on a alternate account that you are going to dump all your gems into to just build exactly this and nothing else, don't bother building this deck. This deck will literally cost you like $200 to $300. I know that because I spent like $200 earlier just trying to build this shit. It is so expensive. And for a lot of players, this might be one deck that is almost entirely not able to be free to play it unless you get extremely lucky with pulls. But overall, this deck's extremely fun. It's extremely rewarding. And holy shit, is it expensive. If you have the money, or you want to start a completely new free-to-play account, and you think that luck is on your side, build this deck. You will not regret it, and this is one of the most fun combo decks I have ever had the pleasure of playing. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. I've been Stevie Blunder. That's it for me. See ya.